The alarm bells rang through the Valdorian monitoring station like the screams of dying stars. Commander Thexval jumped from his chair and rushed to the main display screen. His 6 eyes widened as he saw something that should not exist. "Report!" he barked at his crew. Sensor operator Yilmoth's tentacles shook as he checked his readings again. "Sir, we have detected a vessel approaching our sector, but this is impossible." "What do you mean, impossible?" Thexval demanded. "The ship is moving at 0.3 light speed, but we cannot see how it moves. There are no ion trails, no quantum displacement, no gravity distortions, nothing that should make a ship go that fast." Thexval stared at the screen. In 800, years of galactic conquest, the Valdorian Empire had seen every type of ship technology. They had destroyed or enslaved 847 different species. Each one had tried to resist with their best weapons and fastest ships. All had failed. "Show me the ship design," Thexval ordered. The main screen changed to show a sleek metal ship. It was long and smooth like a blade cutting through space. But its design matched nothing in their vast databases. "Computer, identify vessel type," Thexval said. "Unknown vessel design." "No match found in Imperial records," the computer replied. Yilmoth looked up from his station. "Sir, there is something else. The ship's hull appears to be made of materials we have never seen before. Our sensors cannot identify the metal composition." Thexval felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. The Valdorian Empire ruled this galaxy because they were always the strongest. They had the best weapons, the fastest ships, and the most advanced technology. No species had ever surprised them. "How long until the vessel reaches our position?" he asked. "At current speed, approximately 6 hours, sir." Thexval activated his communication system. "This is Monitoring Station Kepler 7 calling Imperial Command. Priority Alpha emergency. We have an unidentified vessel approaching at impossible speeds using unknown technology." Meanwhile, far across the void of space, Captain Lee Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the ship that was causing so much panic. The indomitable spirit was humanity's finest achievement. 200 years of careful planning, scientific advancement, and preparation had led to this moment. "Navigator Park, confirm our approach vector," Lee said calmly. Park Ji-woo looked up from her console. "Captain, we are on course for the Valdorian outpost. Our arrival time remains 6 hours and 12 minutes. Lee nodded. He was a tall man, with calm eyes that had seen too much suffering. For 2 centuries, humanity had watched the Valdorian Empire spread across this galaxy like a disease. They had studied every battle, every conquest, every act of cruelty. "Chief Engineer Kim, report on our systems," Lee ordered. From the engine room, Kim So-ra's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, the quantum tunnel drive is working perfectly. All systems are running within normal limits. We are ready for whatever comes next." Lee walked to the large window that showed the stars rushing past. Those stars had once belonged to free peoples. Now they were all slaves or corpses, thanks to the Valdorian Empire. "Weapons Officer Choi, are our defensive and offensive systems ready?" Choi Min-ho checked his displays. "Yes, sir. All weapons are charged and ready. Point defense systems are active. We can defend ourselves or attack as needed." "Good," Lee said. "Remember, we are not here as conquerors. We are here to end the conquest of others." The bridge crew nodded. Each of them had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might never return home. But they also knew that if they succeeded, billions of enslaved beings across the galaxy might taste freedom again. "Communications Officer Yoon, are you monitoring Valdorian communications?" Lee asked. Yoon Hai-jin smiled slightly. "Yes, Captain. They are very confused. Their monitoring station is sending panic reports to their command. They have never seen anything like our ship." "That is because there has never been anything like our ship," Lee replied. "Humanity spent 200 years preparing for this day. We studied their technology, their tactics, Their weaknesses. We built this ship to be superior in every way. Back at the Valdorian monitoring station, Commander Thexval received a response from Imperial Command. The message was short and direct. Maintain observation. Fleet Admiral Kexran is being notified. Do not engage unknown vessel until reinforcements arrive. Thexval felt slightly better. Fleet Admiral Kexran was one of the Empire's greatest military leaders. He had conquered 17 different star systems personally. If anyone could handle this strange situation, it would be him. "Sir," Yilmoth called out, "the unknown vessel has changed course slightly. They are now heading directly for our station." What? Thexval rushed back to the display. The sleek ship had indeed adjusted its path. It was no longer just passing through their sector, it was coming straight toward them. "Are they responding to our scanning attempts?" Thexval asked. "No, sir. We have not attempted to contact them. They changed course on their own." On the Indomitable Spirit, Captain Lee was reviewing intelligence reports with his senior staff. Medical Officer Dr. Lim Hyo Jin had prepared detailed files on every known Valdorian slave world. "Captain," Dr. Lim said, "our intelligence shows that the Valdorians have enslaved the populations of 3,247 different worlds. The total number of enslaved beings is estimated at over 800 billion. Security Chief Oh Dong-woo added, "Their standard procedure is to demand complete surrender. Any resistance results in the destruction of major cities and the enslavement of survivors. They have never shown mercy to any species." Lee studied the reports. Each page told the story of another civilization, destroyed or enslaved by Valdorian greed. The Keth-Mori, a peaceful species of artists and philosophers, had been enslaved to build Valdorian monuments. The Ziltarn, master engineers, were forced to construct Valdorian war machines. Hundreds of species, all reduced to property. "Sir," Park Ji-woo announced, "we are now within long-range sensor detection of the Valdorian monitoring station. They know we are here." Lee looked around at his crew. "This is it. For 200 years, humanity has prepared for this moment. Today, we announce to the galaxy that the age of Valdorian oppression is ending." "What are your orders, Captain?" Choi Min-ho asked. "Maintain current course and speed. Let them see us coming. Let them wonder what we are and what we want." Fear is a new experience for the Valdorian Empire. It is time they learned what their victims have felt for 8 centuries. The Indomitable Spirit continued its approach, cutting through space like an arrow aimed at the heart of tyranny. Behind it, Earth waited for news of humanity's first move in a war that would reshape the galaxy. Ahead, the Valdorian Empire was about to learn that they were no longer the apex predators of space. The unknown ship was coming, and nothing would ever be the same again. Fleet Admiral Kexran arrived at the monitoring station 3 hours after the first reports. His massive war cruiser, Eternal Dominion, brought with it the full authority of the Valdorian Empire. Kexran was a veteran of 43 different planetary conquests. He had never met a species that could resist Valdorian power for more than a few days. "Show me this mysterious vessel," he commanded as he entered the station's command center. Commander Thexval activated the main display. The unknown ship appeared on screen, still approaching at impossible speeds. "Admiral, we have tried every scanning method available. The ship remains a complete mystery." Kexran studied the image carefully. The ship was unlike anything in his experience. Where Valdorian vessels were heavy and angular, built for intimidation and raw power, this ship was elegant and smooth. It moved through space with a grace that seemed almost alive. "What do we know about their weapons?" Kexran asked. Science Officer Voth Kal stepped forward. "Sir, our scans detect no recognizable weapon systems. No plasma cannons, no missile tubes, no energy projectors. Either they have no weapons or their weapons are so advanced we cannot identify them." "Impossible," Kexran snorted. "Every species has weapons. It is the first law of survival in space." "Admiral, Vothkal continued nervously. "There is something else. We have been analyzing the ship's hull composition. The materials appear to be artificially enhanced at the molecular level. The atomic structure has been modified in ways our science cannot explain." Kexran felt a cold sensation in his stomach. In 800 years of expansion, the Valdorian Empire had always held the technological advantage. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, their defenses stronger. It was the foundation of their dominance. "How many ships do they have?" he asked. "As far as we can determine, just this one vessel, sir." Kexran relaxed slightly. One ship, no matter how advanced, could not threaten the might of the Empire. "Prepare the standard first contact protocol. Deploy Intimidation Fleet 7. Within an hour, 12 heavy cruisers and 1 dreadnought had assembled near the monitoring station. It was more firepower than most species possessed in their entire fleets. The sight of so many Valdorian warships had caused the surrender of countless worlds. On the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit, Captain Lee watched the enemy fleet assemble. He stood calmly beside his captain's chair, hands clasped behind his back. "Impressive display," Communications Officer Yoon Hai-jin commented. 13 ships. That dreadnought could probably destroy a small moon." "Probably," Lee agreed. "But can it catch us? Can it penetrate our defenses? Can it survive our response? Those are the questions that matter." Tactical Officer Bae Young-sik ran calculations on his console. "Captain, based on our analysis of Valdorian technology, their weapons would need approximately 47 minutes of continuous fire to break through our shields. And how long would we need to disable their entire fleet?" Lee asked. 17 seconds, sir," Lee nodded. The mathematics of the coming confrontation were clear. Humanity had spent 2 centuries advancing their technology while the Valdorians had grown comfortable with their superiority. Comfort led to stagnation. Stagnation led to weakness. "Sir," Park Ji-woo announced, "we are receiving a transmission from the Valdorian fleet." "Put it on speakers," Lee ordered. Admiral Kexran's voice filled the bridge, speaking through universal translation systems. "Unknown vessel, you have violated Valdorian space. This sector belongs to the Valdorian Empire by right of conquest. State your identity and purpose immediately." Lee looked around at his crew. Each face was calm and determined. They had prepared for this moment their entire lives. "You will submit to immediate boarding and inspection," Kexran continued. "Your vessel will be impounded and your crew interrogated. Resistance will result in your complete destruction. You have 10 minutes to comply." The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit. 10 minutes, Weapons Officer Choi Min-ho said quietly. "How generous of them." "It is more time than they usually give," Security Chief Oh Dong-woo added. "According to our intelligence, most species get 5 minutes or less." Captain Lee walked slowly to the center of the bridge. For 200 years, humanity had waited for this moment. They had watched the Valdorians destroy civilization after civilization. They had studied every battle, every conquest, every act of cruelty. They had prepared for this day with the patience of a species that understood the true cost of war. "Communications Officer Yoon, open a channel to the Valdorian fleet," Lee commanded. "Channel open, sir." Lee's voice was calm and steady when he spoke. "This is Captain Lee Tae-ho of the Terran Federation vessel Indomitable Spirit. We are humans from the planet Earth in the Milky Way galaxy. We have come to this galaxy with a simple message." He paused, looking at the display showing the assembled Valdorian warships. "The age of Valdorian conquest is over. You have 15 minutes to withdraw your warships and prepare to receive our diplomatic envoy. This is your only warning." Lee nodded to Yoon, who closed the channel. On board the Valdorian flagship, Admiral Kexran stared at his communications console in disbelief. In 43 campaigns, no species had ever given the Valdorian Empire a warning. No species had ever demanded that Valdorian forces withdraw. "Did that alien just threaten us?" Commander Thexaval asked in amazement. "Humans, science officer," Vothkal said, checking his database. "I have no record of this species in our files. They claim to be from another galaxy entirely." Admiral Kexran's shock quickly turned to rage. "Another galaxy? Impossible. And even if it were true, one ship against 13? They must be insane." "What are your orders, Admiral?" his weapons officer asked. Kexran looked at the sleek human ship on his display. It sat motionless in space, showing no fear of the massive Valdorian fleet surrounding it. The arrogance was insulting. 15 minutes, they said. Kexran laughed coldly. "They will not get 15 seconds. All ships, target the unknown vessel and prepare to fire. Show these humans what happens when someone threatens the Valdorian Empire." But even as he gave the order, Kexran felt something unusual. For the first time in his long military career, he was not completely certain of victory. The human ship was too calm, too confident. No species facing 13 Valdorian warships should be so relaxed. On the indomitable Spirit, Dr. Lim Hyo Jin monitored the Valdorian communications. "Captain, they are powering up their weapons. All ships are targeting us." "Understood," Lee replied. "Chief Engineer Kim, bring all systems to full combat readiness." Kim Sora's voice came from the engine room. "All systems ready, Captain. Quantum tunnel drive is prepared for combat maneuvers. Shields at maximum power." Lee looked around his bridge one final time. His crew was ready. His ship was ready. Humanity was ready. "They have chosen their path," he said quietly. "Now they will learn why it was the wrong choice." The two forces faced each other across the void of space. On one side, 13 warships representing 8 centuries of galactic domination. On the other, a single vessel carrying the hopes of billions of enslaved beings who had never known. That help was coming. The first shots were about to be fired in a war that would reshape the galaxy forever. But only one side understood what was really about to happen. The Valdorian Empire was about to learn that they were no longer the strongest. Predators in space. That title now belonged to humanity. Admiral Kexran raised his hand, ready to give the order that would destroy the arrogant human vessel. "All ships fire at will. Destroy the unknown vessel completely." 13 Valdorian warships opened fire at once. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and fusion missiles filled the space around the indomitable Spirit. The combined firepower was enough to turn a mountain into dust. It was enough to crack a moon in half. It was more destructive energy than most species had ever seen in one place. The human ship disappeared behind a wall of fire and explosions. "Direct hits on target," the weapons officer reported. "Multiple impacts confirmed across the entire vessel." Admiral Kexran smiled with satisfaction. Another species learns the price of defying the Empire. Scan for debris and survivors. But as the smoke and energy discharges cleared, something impossible appeared on the display screens. The indomitable Spirit hung in space, completely undamaged. Its hull showed no burn marks, no dents, no signs that it had been attacked at all. "Impossible," Kexran whispered. On the bridge of the indomitable Spirit, Captain Lee stood calmly watching the tactical display. The Valdorian attack had been impressive in its fury, but harmless against human technology. "Damage report," he requested. Tactical Officer Bae Young-sik checked his console. "No damage, sir. Our shields absorbed the entire attack without strain. Shield strength is still at 98%. "Excellent," Lee said. "Now it is our turn. Weapons Officer Choi, target their engines only. We want them disabled, not destroyed." Choi Minho's fingers moved across his controls. "Targeting solutions acquired on all 13 vessels, sir. Precision plasma beams ready. Fire." The human response was nothing like the Valdorian attack. Instead of massive explosions and walls of energy, Thin beams of brilliant light reached out from the indomitable spirit. Each beam was perfectly aimed, surgically precise. The first beam struck the engine section of the dreadnought. The massive ship's propulsion system simply stopped working. Not destroyed, not exploded, just turned off like someone had flipped a switch. The second beam disabled a heavy cruiser, then another, then another. In 17 seconds, all 13 Valdorian warships were drifting helplessly in space. Their weapons were intact, their life support was working, their crews were alive and unharmed. But they could not move, could not maneuver, could not escape. "Status report!" Admiral Kexran shouted on his bridge. "Engines are completely dead, sir," his engineering officer reported. "All power to propulsion has been cut. I do not understand how this is possible. The engine core is undamaged, but it will not respond to any commands." Across the Valdorian fleet, the same reports came in. 13 of the Empire's finest warships had been disabled by a single enemy vessel in less than 20 seconds. "Sir," sensor operator Yilmoth called out from the monitoring station, "the human ship is moving." On the display, the indomitable spirit began to glide through the disabled Valdorian fleet. It moved with impossible grace, weaving between the larger warships like a dancer moving through a crowd. "How is it moving like that?" Commander Thexval asked in amazement. No ship can change direction so quickly without massive stress on the hull. Science Officer Vothkal stared at his readings. "Sir, the human vessel appears to be using some form of spatial displacement technology. It is not actually accelerating. In the traditional sense, it is moving through space in ways that should not be possible." The indomitable spirit came to rest directly in front of Admiral Kexaran's flagship. The human ship was smaller than the Valdorian dreadnought, but somehow it seemed to loom over the larger vessel. Captain Lee activated his communications system. "Admiral Kexaran, this is Captain Lee of the Indomitable Spirit. As you can see, your weapons cannot harm us, and our weapons can disable your entire fleet at will." Kexran's hands shook as he gripped his command chair. In 43 campaigns, he had never experienced defeat. He had never seen Valdorian ships disabled so easily. He had never felt so helpless. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely steady. "We want you to listen," Lee replied. "For 800 years, the Valdorian Empire has spread across this galaxy like a disease. You have enslaved 847 different species. You have destroyed entire civilizations. You have killed billions of innocent beings." Lee's voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath the quiet words. "We are humans. For 200 years, we have watched your expansion from our home galaxy. We have studied your methods. We have seen the suffering you cause. Today, that suffering ends." "You are just one ship," Kexran protested. "The Empire has thousands of vessels. You cannot fight us all." "Can we not?" Lee asked. "Admiral, your 13 ships represent some of your finest vessels. They were disabled in 17 seconds. How long do you think your thousands of ships would last?" On the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Lim Hyo-jin monitored the Valdorian life signs. "Captain, I am detecting massive stress responses across their entire fleet. Heart rates elevated, brain activity showing extreme confusion and fear." "Understandable," Lee replied. "They have never been helpless before. It is a new experience for them." Security Chief Oh Dong-woo reviewed intelligence files. "Sir, according to our data, the Valdorian Empire has never shown mercy to defeated enemies. They enslave survivors and destroy anyone who resists." "We are not the Valdorian Empire," Lee said firmly. "We will show them mercy they have never given others. But first, they must understand their situation completely." Lee activated the communications again. "Admiral Kexran, you are probably wondering how one ship could defeat 13 so easily. The answer is simple. While you have spent 8 centuries conquering weaker species, we have spent 2 centuries advancing our technology. The captain gestured to his crew. Every system on this ship represents the finest achievements of human science and engineering. Our shields use quantum field manipulation that makes your weapons useless. Our propulsion system allows us to move through space in ways your physics cannot explain. Our weapons can target individual components of your ships with perfect precision. Impossible, Kexran whispered. You keep using that word, Lee observed. But you are looking at the proof. Your ships are disabled. Your fleet is helpless. The impossible has become reality. Navigator Park Jiwoo checked her instruments. Captain, we are receiving communications from the monitoring station. They are requesting instructions from fleet. Command! Let them communicate, Lee said. In fact, make sure their transmissions reach the Imperial capital as quickly as possible. Let the Emperor know what has happened here. Communications Officer Yunhai Jin smiled slightly. Sir, I am detecting panic in their transmissions. They are using emergency codes I have never seen before. Good, Lee replied. Fear will make them think carefully about their next moves, and thinking carefully might save lives. Lee looked around at his crew. Prepare aid packages for the disabled Valdorian ships, medical supplies, food, repair materials for life support systems. Sir? Choi Min-ho asked in surprise. They tried to destroy us, Lee explained. But they failed, and now they are helpless. We could destroy them easily, but that would make us no better than they are. Instead, we will show them what mercy looks like. Dr. Lim Hyojin began preparing humanitarian supplies. Captain, this is unprecedented. The Valdorians have never experienced mercy from a superior force. Then it is time they learned, Lee said. Perhaps if they understand what mercy feels like, they will be less likely to deny it to others in the future. Admiral Kexran watched in amazement as small cargo pods launched from the human ship toward his disabled fleet. His sensors confirmed that the pods contained medical supplies, food, and equipment. Why? He asked over the communication channel. Because we are not you, Lee replied simply. We do not destroy the helpless. We do not kill the defeated. We are humans, and we choose to be better than our enemies. The demonstration was complete. The Valdorian Empire had just learned that they were no longer the strongest force in the galaxy. More importantly, they had learned that strength did not have to mean cruelty. The indomitable spirit had shown them a different way to use power. Now the real work would begin. The news of Admiral Kexran's defeat spread through the Valdorian Empire like wildfire. Within hours, emergency communications reached every corner of Imperial space. For the first time in 8 centuries, a Valdorian fleet had been defeated. Not just defeated, but humiliated by a single enemy ship. Emperor Zalthos sat on his throne in the imperial capital, staring at the reports with disbelief. Around him, his advisors whispered in panic. The impossible had happened, and no one knew what it meant. Explain to me again how 13 of our finest warships were disabled by one vessel, the Emperor demanded. Intelligence Director Melgoth stepped forward nervously. My lord, according to Admiral Kexran's report, the human ship used weapons, technology we have never encountered. Their defensive systems made our most powerful attacks completely useless. One ship, the Emperor repeated slowly. How many ships does this Terran Federation possess? That is what troubles us most, my lord, Melgoth replied. Our intelligence networks have detected no other vessels, no fleet movements, no signs of a large military force. It appears to be just this one ship. Emperor Zalthos felt something cold creep up his spine. If one human ship could defeat 13 Valdorian vessels so easily, what could a human fleet accomplish? Where is this ship now? He asked. Moving through our territory, my lord. It has appeared at 7 different slave worlds in the past 2 days. Each time it broadcasts the same message. The Emperor activated his communication system. Show me. the main display filled with the image of Captain Lee Taeho. His calm face appeared above worlds where millions of enslaved beings lived in fear. "Attention, oppressed peoples," Lee's voice said clearly. "The Valdorian Empire's rule over this system has ended. You are free to determine your own destiny. The Terran Federation offers aid, protection, and support, but we will not force our will upon you. Choose your own path. Choose freedom." The Emperor's claws scraped against his throne. "Free? He is declaring our slaves free?" "Yes, my lord," Melgoth confirmed. "And the slave populations are responding. We are receiving reports of uprisings on multiple worlds. The humans appear to be encouraging rebellion throughout our territory." On the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit, Captain Lee reviewed reports from the liberated worlds. The response had been overwhelming. Species that had suffered under Valdorian rule for centuries were finally fighting back. "Captain," Diplomatic Officer Han Ji-min reported, "we have received formal requests for alliance from 17 different civilizations. The Kethemori are offering to share their artistic knowledge. The Ziltarn want to help us build better ships. The Mordain are providing strategic intelligence about Valdorian military positions." "Excellent," Lee replied. "Accept all alliance requests. Make it clear that we expect nothing in return except their freedom." Security Chief Oh Dong-woo studied tactical displays. "Sir, the Valdorians are responding to our liberation campaign. They are recalling fleets from across the galaxy. It appears they are massing for a major confrontation." "How many ships?" Lee asked. "Conservative estimates put the number at over 3,000 vessels, sir. They are gathering everything they have." Navigator Park Ji-woo looked up from her station. "Captain, 3,000 ships. Even with our advantages, those are overwhelming numbers." Lee walked to the main display, showing the positions of Valdorian fleets converging from across the galaxy. "Numbers are not everything. Quality matters more than quantity. Training matters more than size. And most importantly, the reason you fight matters more than anything else." He turned to address his crew. "They fight to preserve their empire of slavery. We fight to end 8 centuries of oppression. Which cause do you think gives more strength?" The crew nodded with determination. They had not come this far to be intimidated by numbers. "Sir," Communications Officer Yoon Hae-jin announced, "we are receiving a transmission from the Imperial capital. It is Emperor Zalthos himself." "Put it on screen," Lee ordered. The Emperor's image appeared, his alien features twisted with rage. "Human Captain, I am Emperor Zalthos, ruler of the Valdorian Empire. You have interfered with Imperial territory and encouraged rebellion among our subject species." Lee looked calmly at the Emperor. "I have freed enslaved peoples and given them back their basic rights. If you consider that interference, then yes, I am interfering." "You command 1 ship," the Emperor snarled. "I command 3,000. Surrender, now, and I may allow your species to live as slaves rather than be completely destroyed." "No," Lee replied simply. The Emperor's eyes widened. No one had ever refused a direct order from him so casually. "No," he repeated. "No," Lee confirmed. "We will not surrender, we will not become slaves, and we will not allow you to continue enslaving others. Your empire ends now." "You are insane!" the Emperor screamed. 3,000 ships against 1! You cannot possibly win." Lee's expression remained calm. "Emperor, you have ruled through fear and superior numbers for 800 years. You have never faced an enemy that was actually stronger than you. Today, you learn what that feels like." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Gather your 3,000 ships. Bring your entire fleet. Choose your battlefield. We will meet you there and end your reign of terror once and for all." The transmission ended, leaving Emperor Zalthos staring at a blank screen. "Prepare the Grand Fleet," he ordered his admirals. every ship we have, every weapon in our arsenal. We will crush this human arrogance and show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Empire. On the indomitable Spirit, Captain Lee called his senior staff together for a final planning session. They are massing their entire fleet, he announced. 3,417 ships, according to our latest intelligence, the largest military force in galactic history. Chief Engineer Kim So-ra checked her systems reports. Captain, all our systems are functioning perfectly. The quantum tunnel drive is ready for extended combat operations. Weapons systems are fully charged, Weapons Officer Choi Min-ho added. We have enough firepower to disable their entire fleet if necessary. Dr. Lim Hyo-jin reviewed her medical preparations. Sir, I have prepared maximum medical supplies and trauma equipment. If we are going to face 3,000 enemy ships, we should be ready for anything. Lee looked around at his crew. These men and women had volunteered for a mission that many thought was suicide. They had left Earth knowing they might never return. But they had come anyway, because they believed that freedom was worth fighting for. The Emperor wants to choose the battlefield, Lee said. I suggest we let him. Confidence will make him careless. Carelessness will make him vulnerable. Where do you think he will choose? Tactical Officer Bae Young-sik asked. Somewhere symbolic, Lee replied. Somewhere that will send a message to the entire galaxy. My guess is the Nexus system. Park Ji-woo nodded. The site of their first galactic conquest. It would make sense for them to want to end this there. Then we will end it there, Lee agreed. But not the way they expect. He stood and walked to the window showing the stars. Out there, billions of enslaved beings waited for freedom. 3,000 enemy ships were gathering to preserve their chains. But one human ship was coming to break those chains forever. Set course for the Nexus. System, Lee ordered. It is time to finish this. The final battle was about to begin. The fate of the galaxy would be decided by the courage of one ship and the determination of her crew. Against overwhelming odds, humanity would make its stand for freedom. The Nexus system had been the birthplace of the Valdorian Empire's galactic conquest 800 years ago. It was here that they had first tested their weapons against a helpless species. It was here that they had learned that fear was their greatest weapon. Now it would be here that their empire would end. Emperor Zalthos stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion Eternal, surrounded by the largest fleet in galactic history. 3,417 warships filled the space around the system's star. Dreadnoughts, battle cruisers, destroyers, and fighter carriers stretched from horizon to horizon. My lord, Admiral Velkoth reported. All ships are in position. Every vessel in the Imperial fleet is here. We have enough firepower to destroy entire solar systems. The Emperor nodded with satisfaction. And they send one ship to face us. The arrogance is breathtaking. Perhaps they have realized their mistake and will surrender, suggested Intelligence Director Melgoth hopefully. No, the Emperor replied. That human captain was too calm, too confident. He believes he can actually win this battle. We will teach him the price of such foolishness. Across the system, space suddenly rippled like water. The indomitable Spirit appeared, emerging from quantum tunnel space with impossible grace. The human ship looked tiny compared to the massive Valdorian fleet, like a single bird flying toward a mountain. On the bridge of the indomitable Spirit, Captain Lee stood calmly watching the display screens. The assembled enemy fleet was impressive, but he felt no fear. His crew was ready. His ship was ready. Most importantly, his cause was just. Captain, Navigator Park Ji-woo announced, we have emerged at the planned coordinates. The entire Valdorian fleet is before us. Status report, Lee requested. All systems optimal, Chief Engineer Kim So-ra reported from the engine room. Quantum tunnel drive is ready for combat maneuvers. Shields at maximum power. Weapons systems fully charged, Weapons Officer Choi Min-ho added. Targeting computers have acquired solutions on all enemy vessels. Tactical Officer Bae Young-sik studied his displays. Sir, the enemy fleet is arranged in a standard Valdorian battle formation. They are attempting to surround us. Let them, Lee replied. It will make our job easier. Communications Officer Yoon Hai-jin received an incoming transmission. Captain, Emperor Zalthos wishes to speak with you. Put him on screen. The Emperor's image appeared, his alien features twisted with rage and satisfaction. Human Captain, you see before you the might of the Valdorian Empire. 3,000 ships against your one. This is your final chance to surrender. Lee looked calmly at the Emperor. I see before me 3,000 ships crewed by beings who have never known defeat. They have grown comfortable in their superiority. Comfort makes you slow. Comfort makes you predictable. Comfort makes you weak. Weak, the Emperor snarled. We are the strongest force in the galaxy. You were, Lee corrected. But strength is not about the size of your fleet. It is not about the power of your weapons. True strength comes from fighting for something greater than yourself. He gestured to his crew. These humans fight for the freedom of billions of enslaved beings. Your crews fight to preserve an empire built on cruelty. Which cause do you think gives more strength to those who serve it? Enough talk, the Emperor shouted. All ships attack! Destroy that vessel completely! The Valdorian fleet opened fire as one. 3,000 ships launched everything they had. Plasma beams, particle cannons, fusion missiles, and energy torpedoes filled space with destructive light. The combined attack was like watching a star explode. The indomitable spirit disappeared behind a wall of fire and energy that would have vaporized a small planet. Direct hits, Admiral Velkoth reported. Complete saturation of the target area. But as the energy discharges faded, the impossible happened again. The human ship emerged from the attack completely undamaged, its hull gleaming in the starlight. Damage. Report, Captain Lee requested calmly. No damage, sir, Tactical Officer Bae Young-sik reported. Shields absorbed the entire attack. We are ready to respond. Then let us respond, Lee said. But remember, we want to disable their ships, not destroy them. These crews are someone's children, someone's family. We will show them the mercy their empire has never given others. The indomitable spirit began to move. But it did not move like any ship the Valdorians had ever seen. It seemed to dance through space, appearing and disappearing, moving through the enemy fleet like water flowing around stones. How is it moving like that? Emperor Zalthos demanded. Unknown, my lord, his science officer replied. It appears to be using some form of spatial displacement technology. It is not bound by normal physics. The human ship began its counterattack. Precise beams of energy reached out to touch ship after ship. Each beam was perfectly aimed, surgically precise. One by one, Valdorian vessels found their engines disabled, their weapons offline, their ships helpless. Return fire! All ships return fire! The Emperor screamed. But the human ship was impossible to target. It moved through three-dimensional space as if the normal rules did not apply. It appeared behind ships, beside them, above them, always in the perfect position to strike while avoiding return fire. Sir, Weapons Officer Choi Min-ho reported, we have disabled 400 enemy vessels. Continue, Lee ordered. Target their command ships next. Without leadership, the rest will surrender more quickly. The indomitable spirit moved toward the center of the Valdorian formation, where the largest dreadnoughts waited. These massive ships opened fire with their heaviest weapons, creating walls of energy that should have been impossible to avoid. The human ship avoided them anyway. Impossible! Emperor Zalthos shouted as he watched his finest dreadnoughts disabled one by one. How can one ship defeat an entire fleet? On the bridge of the indomitable spirit, Dr. Lim Hyojin monitored the battle's progress. "Captain, I'm detecting massive psychological trauma across the enemy fleet. They have never experienced defeat before. Their entire worldview is collapsing." "Understood," Lee replied. "Prepare humanitarian aid packages. They will need medical attention and counseling after this is over." "Sir," Security Chief Oh Dongwoo observed, "they tried to destroy us completely. They showed no mercy, yet you still want to help them?" "Yes," Lee said firmly, "because that is what makes us different from them. We choose to be better than our enemies. We choose mercy over vengeance." The battle continued for 2 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. One by one, every ship in the Valdorian fleet was disabled, not destroyed, not killed, but rendered helpless. 3,417 vessels drifted powerless in space, their crews alive but defeated. Emperor Zalthos sat in his command chair, staring at his dead control panels. For 800 years, his empire had ruled through superior force. Now he faced an enemy that was so superior that his entire fleet was helpless. "What do you want?" he asked when Captain Lee opened communications. "Justice," Lee replied simply. "Emperor Zalthos, you and your government will stand trial for crimes against sapient life. Your empire is dissolved. The enslaved worlds are free." "And if I refuse?" Lee's voice remained calm, but carried absolute certainty. "Then you will remain in your disabled ship until you change your mind. Your crews need food, water, and medical attention. We will provide all of that freely, but your empire ends today." The Emperor looked around his bridge at his defeated officers. For the first time in his life, he had no choice. "I surrender," he whispered. Captain Lee addressed his crew. "The battle is over. Begin humanitarian operations immediately. These defeated crews are now our responsibility." Across the system, small ships launched from the Indomitable Spirit, carrying medical supplies, food, and repair equipment to the disabled Valdorian fleet. It was the largest mercy operation in galactic history. "Sir," Diplomatic Officer Han Ji-min reported, "we are receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Former slave worlds are declaring their independence. The liberation movement is spreading everywhere." "Good," Lee replied. "Freedom is contagious." He walked to the main display, which now showed former slave worlds celebrating their liberation. Billions of beings who had lived in chains were finally free. Communications Officer Yoon Hai-jin received a priority message. "Captain, transmission from Earth. Terran Command is asking when we are coming home." Lee considered the question carefully. Earth seemed very far away now. There was still so much work to do. "Tell them we are not finished yet," he said finally. "There are other galaxies out there, other empires, other peoples who need to know that freedom is not negotiable." He looked around at his crew. Who wants to see what lies beyond the next galaxy? Every hand on the bridge rose without hesitation. The Indomitable Spirit turned toward the void between galaxies, carrying humanity's message to the stars. Behind them, a galaxy tasted freedom for the first time in 8 centuries. Ahead lay infinite possibilities and the promise that no empire, no matter how powerful, could stand against the human determination to protect the innocent. The age of Valdorian conquest was over. The age of human liberation had begun.